especially the mayor's.
Hello.
Yeah, that's better.
I think so, yeah.
Just picking everything.
It's picking up the table.
Yeah, too loud. You hear something I say in my car.
Good evening. Call the meeting to order. Moved by Councillor Rule, seconded by Councillor Liev. Resolved that the regular meeting commence at the hour of 7:01 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. Item number 2, additions or deletions of the agenda. There is none. Item number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. There are 2.
Member Council is O'Donnell, meeting date June 27th. I declare pecuniary interest on agenda item 1601, post agenda 501. On the agenda for the above noted meeting for the following reasons. I am the applicant in this matter. Second disclosure is Councillor O'Donnell, date June 27th. I declare pecuniary interest on agenda item 1602, post agenda 502. Of the agenda for the above noted meeting for the following reason. I am the petitioner in this claim.
Thank you, Margaret. Item number 4, moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Rule. Resolve the agenda be approved as circulated. Councillor, let me bring to your attention item number 1603. It may be that I think personally that this is a discussion on a staff position, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, but to me it seems like it should be something that is an open session compared to closed session. It is a council discussion.
Through the chair, we'll go into closed session. Council can then discuss the matter, and it is determined at that point that it's open session. We'll just resume the conversation in open session.
So we don't need to change the agenda?
Because council's not free to discuss it at this point.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, resolve that the agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor?
I have a question on that.
Yes.
I was going to ask council if they would like to have 1603 heard first because of my pecuniary interest, and if it's decided that 1603 is to be heard in open session, I will stick around. But if 1603 is to be discussed and resolved in closed session, there's no point in me sticking around if I have pecuniary interest for 01 and 02.
So at this time, Councillor, we just spoke about this, and it was thought that the discussion will take place in closed session only. So if you want to stay around for that discussion, it's entirely up to you.
Just for clarification, he's asking if we would consider moving it the first time in closed session to the third. That's what he's asking. I think it's a fair question.
To the first.
He's just asking for to move it to priority. That's all. I think it's a fair question, and I'm okay with that. Not that I'm in charge, but just.
Is everybody okay with this? So we'll move. As amended, yeah. So again, moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Rule. Resolved that the agenda be approved as amended. All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. Item number 5, delegation and presentations. There are none. Item number 6, adoption of minutes. Moved by Councillor Liev, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 13, 2018 are adopted as circulated. Questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Liev?
I wasn't here for that meeting, so I cannot approve those minutes, right?
Right.
Need their signature. Sorry about that.
Just one chance.
Councillor. So moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 13, 2018 are adopted as circulated. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. Item number 7, petitions. There's none. Item number 8, disbursement. Moved by Councilor Rule, seconded by Councilor Blummer. Resolved that disbursement sheet number 2018-10, $347,405.31 as provided to council for information purposes only. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. Item number 9, correspondence. Moved by Councilor Dunno, seconded by Councilor Yev. Resolved that correspondence item 0901 to 0902 be received as filed. Questions or comments? Yes, Councilor?
I would like to see both correspondence moved to business.
Three and 4. So resolved that correspondence items 0901 to 0902 be received and filed, and be further resolved that agenda items 0901 and 0902 be returned to council under business for the meeting of June 27, 2018. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Reports in committee, there is none. Item number 11, update by the mayor. So just for your information, this is as recommended by the Reconciliation Commission. I am presently working on the wording for a statement for Indigenous acknowledgement that I'm hoping to bring back to council so that council can read and hopefully accept or amend so that we can have this statement hopefully put on all our meetings or prior to our meetings and also our committee meetings. So as you know, the government and the commission has asked that municipalities do this if possible, if they wish to, as a beginning of reconciliation with our indigenous people. So this is something I'm just working on. Hopefully we can have something. I'll be asking Margaret, of course, to help me on this so that we can bring it back in July. Any questions on this? Yes, Councillor?
What kind of statement are we talking about?
I didn't bring it with me, but it's just an acknowledgement of the treaty rights and land that they've been living on for hundreds of years. It's just to acknowledge that presence. Yes, Councillor?
Through the chair, could that not be found in the Constitution Act of 1982 with regards to Section 35 that clearly identifies everything that you're trying to propose?
Not really, Councillor, because every area of Canada is different. There are different treaty rights and so on. So some of the wording can be taken from areas like this. Some of the wording can also be taken from others that are using it already, so that we can come up with something for our own area that pertains to our own area, that pertains to our neighbors here. Yes, Councilor?
So I understand this correctly, this is the same as we go to meetings, go to conferences, and they open up the meeting by acknowledging we're on the land of, and they state the land they're on?
Of course,
Is that
yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. And this is something that I'll bring to council for their discussion and or approval. Any other questions? Thank you. That's all I have for tonight. Item number 12, verbal update by CO Clerk Treasurer. Margaret, please.
So I have a couple of updates for council. I will be away for the July 11th meeting. We will be holding a special meeting that day, and it will be the annual general meeting for housing. The notices are being put out and the packages will be put in the box. So that will start at 6:30. And the regular council meeting will commence at 7 as usual. I've actually borrowed this, but it's up on the council table, and it's an orientation session for anyone who's considering running for council, either whether you're an incumbent or returning or just generally interested. We tried to get it here. We didn't have much luck. The ministry is having a staffing shortfall along with a staffing freeze. So they're saying they're only going to go to Marathon, so we're going to have a joint session with Marathon. And it's in the evening, July 12th. I'll leave the poster. We're going to blitz the community with them so that if anybody's interested, they can attend. And we're going to put it on our Facebook and our website page. And you need to pre-register by July 6th. If they don't have 10 registrants between the two communities, they will cancel it. So I'll put that back on the table after the meeting, so if you want the details. But it will be on our Facebook page and our website as well.
Thank you.
I have one other item, and I don't have the specifics yet. We're going to have a management meeting tomorrow morning to get a few more details on it. But I want you to be aware that we will likely be closing the pool due to some water issues and water repairs. There's a force main break that they're going to have to do some work on, so I'm going to get an update from Randy. He's been looking at it today to find out exactly what we're looking at. There may be a possibility of a boil water advisory for a specific area of community. It won't be the whole town. So if in the discussions tomorrow it's a possibility, we're going to also post that along with the notices that the rec center's closed, et cetera, so that if people want to stock up on bottled water, they can. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's better to sort of give them a heads up than, all of a sudden run boil water as soon as we start the water flushing. We need Randy to help us identify the specific area.
Thank you, Margaret. Item number 13, bylaws. There are none. Item number 14. 1401. Moved by Councillor Rule, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Resolved that council in receipt administration report TR 2018-11 submitted by Margaret Hartling, CO Clerk Treasurer, regarding council remuneration. Speak on that, please, Margaret.
Through the chair, it's required that we bring this back to council prior to the upcoming elections, so that if there's any changes to be made, it's the current council that's making it for the new council. If council makes any changes to the bylaw, we will bring it back to the next meeting for approval, or possibly the August meeting, depending on how much work is done, as I won't be here for the next 3 weeks. The bylaw will be effective December 1st, which is the date of the new council, and that's standard. We're making changes for the new council. I've provided for you some other locations and what they're currently being paid. The last time I contacted them, which was probably a couple of months ago now. This council's not had an increase or change their remuneration since 2010. So this current council wasn't awarded with any increases. Previous council decided not to change it. The one thing that's a little different for us is we provide $55 per meeting. As I mentioned in my report, That was a direct result of a couple of counselors many years ago that wouldn't attend meetings and then would show up on the third month, which would then nullify them being eliminated or losing a position, and then not come back again for another 3 months. So it was a recurring issue. And that was a way to sort of nip some of it in the bud. They weren't getting paid for meetings if they were here, or at least it was reduced. That has not been a problem in several terms of council, that councillors are missing for anything other than, a substantial reason, vacation, health appointments or whatever. It certainly wasn't on purpose or just lack of interest. So council can change the amounts. They can change how it's paid. We did do some math based on the 1/3 will also be gone for the next term of council. You get it 1/3 tax-free. Now, I can't speak to all of your personal financial situations, but we ran the numbers just based on the honorarium that you get as a councillor. The changes are nominal. How it will impact you individually based on your own personal finances is for you to determine. So whether that is a consideration that council wants to talk about when they're looking at the amount is entirely open for discussion at this point.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Donald?
I have two. With regards to the $55 per meeting for the attendance, I would like to see that it's still kept isolated as the incentive to come, for two reasons. One I just mentioned about the incentive, and the other one, if there happens to be disciplinary actions imposed on a member of council and suspension of remuneration, at least if the councillor shows up, he will be or she will be entitled to that $55 for attendance. So I think that should.
Through the chair, that's not correct.
No, that's not correct.
That's not.
It's part of remuneration.
Yes.
That is part of the remuneration.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I see it isolated on my pay stubs as $55 there per attendance at the meeting. So I always thought that this coincided with what was being stated here.
No, it's all part of remuneration. As Margaret stated, originally it was also part of remuneration, but it was set aside and separated, but still kept as remuneration for the amount of meetings that you're attending. But definitely is part of remuneration.
Through the chair, the way that it shows on your pay stubs is for the reason that it's not flat rate. Sometimes you may have more meetings in a month, other times you may have less, depending on how the months flow. So we do attendance sheets, and we give them to payroll, and the cutoff is, the Friday before the check run is done for payroll. So it varies from month to month, which is why we've broken it out.
Okay, thank you. My second point I'd like to bring out is for increases. I would like to see that if there's an increase for remuneration, that it is based on performance that council has been able to do while they're in for the previous year. And that could be reflected on the mill rate. And if there's a decrease in the mill rate, it kind of reflects on, okay, the council's doing something positive to help reduce the costs for our residents' taxes. It's one way. It's a measure in how council can be assessed by their performance. It's the only way I was looking at it.
So what you're saying, Councillor, is that it would be based on the budget that council passes?
That's correct.
And only one item?
If the, not one item, the mill rate as a whole, and it cannot be just a marginal amount. It should be at least 10% reduction in our mill rate before council should consider any kind of increase to the following term.
Questions or comments? Yes, Councillor?
I'm in total disagreement with what Councillor Donald just said. This council has not received an increase for several years now, and I think it's due time. What I have noted here, for example, and maybe that's just the bylaw and needs to be changed, is when we're here for a full day for budget example and that, I think if we'd be going out of town for that, we'd be getting paid a per diem. But because we're in town, we only get the $55 for the special meeting. So what I'm saying is, for a special meeting past more than 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever, then we should be getting our per diem.
Through the chair, that's a different bylaw.
It is,
That's
yeah.
not in this bylaw.
Okay, that's fine. Then having said that, I would still think council could get an increase if you want to encourage candidates to get involved. And don't have to be much, but we could increase council's numeration by $500 and increase the mayor's also by, according to the other ones I'm looking at here, it could be even up to $1,000. That's my idea. So I'll wait to hear from the other councillors.
Any other comments, councillors? Yes, Councillor Donald?
Listening to Councillor Zydiev, I still feel that, like all staff or anyone working on their job, their incentives are increased, their pay is increased based on their performance level. And we've seen that recently a number of times, and I think that should follow through for council as well. Why should we be of the exception?
Any comment on this? Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Bishop. I hear what Councillor Donald is saying. I think if there was a base remuneration on council performance, in particular this council, we'd be unhappy. It'd be a nightmare to implement. Who's to say you did a good job and somebody else did a good job? You can't do it. I'm in favor of the status quo.
Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Donald?
In comment to Councillor Plummer, this is not an individual performance thing. This is members of council as a whole. There's not going to be any one person saying you're going to get more, the other one's going to get less. It's going to be a group as council.
Yes, Councillor Wu?
I'm in favor of just status quo. I really think that numeration shouldn't be the motivation for being on council. It's to me it should be almost a volunteer thing, and we should be compensated maybe for expenses and stuff. So I'm not in favor of any type of increase. I think it's fine the way it is. And not to be disrespectful to Councillor Ray, but I don't think we should have to increase it to get people to be interested. Either you're interested in your community and you want to be involved, or you're not. It shouldn't be a financial thing. Being part of council shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be like a paycheck type of thing. So I'm in favor of status quo.
Councillor, yeah.
Having said that, I don't think a councillor should be out of pocket money.
I agree. Expenses for sure.
So, two things are happening here. One is I also agree that performance level, to me, has nothing to do with, first of all, who would gauge it and who would gauge it for. I think performance level is certainly gauged at election time, and that's when it should be, whether you're elected or not, whether people feel that you're have done a good job or you are going to do a good job. That's the way I look at it. I tend to believe what Councillor Viljev is saying, that there has to be some incentive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be paying these wages already. There has to be something there to bring, hopefully, the best out of the people in the municipality to run. And they're not going to do it for nothing. The way it is right now, it looks like we're probably getting paid about $1 an hour. So, is it volunteer work? I think it is. And we haven't had an increase for 8 years. I think, and we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the next council coming in. And I think that we should be looking at some type of an increase, even if we go as per the cost of living, which is around 1.2 last year, for example. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Plummer.
Yes, Your Worship. I recall distinctly a gentleman who said he was thinking of running for council, but what stopped him from running it didn't pay enough. In other words, the job didn't pay enough. There's no, and you're serving the community, it was a job. And that is the wrong reason.
Any other comments on this? So let me just suggest one thing, councillors. If we think that is an increase certainly shouldn't be part of it and should never be mentioned as part of an incentive for anyone to run for council, maybe we should be looking at a decrease. Any other comment? So is it this council's position that everything stays the same? Yes, Councillor Dunham?
Your Worship, I'd like to refer
Yes,
the
Councillor.
vote.
Pardon me?
I would like to refer the vote. Refer the vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your Worship.
Yes, Councillor?
In comment, through the chair, in comment to what you had said about it being status quo, I agree.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Resolved that Council is in receipt of Administration Report TR 2018-11 submitted by Margaret Hartman, CEO for Treasurer, regarding Council remuneration. And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of Council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows: no amendments be made to bylaw 2010-14. Councillor O'Donnell.
For.
Councillor William Villiers.
Against.
Councillor Sheldon Plummer.
Aye.
Councillor Peter Rullo.
For.
Mayor Andy Major.
Against.
The motion is carried.
Thank you. So move on to item number 1402. Moved by Councillor Dunno, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Resolved that Council is in receipt of Administration Report TR 2018-12 submitted by Margaret Hartling, CEO Clerk Treasurer, regarding the Community Wellbeing Fund, Reserve Fund 2018. Speak on that, please, Margaret.
Through the chair, as Council is aware, when we first started into this process, we were fortunate enough to receive $400,000 from NWMO for Community Wellbeing Fund. I've attached for your information on how those funds were distributed and are waiting to be expended. In April 2018, as a result of continuing on in the process, we were awarded another $300,000 for continuing on in the process. Management has discussed it. Council received the information and entered into a bylaw with NWMO that the funds would be currently put into a reserve fund. pending any council discussion on how those funds would be spent. We've discussed it at the management level as to whether there were any imminent projects that needed immediate funding that wasn't already provided for in the budget, or something we haven't received grants for. And the consensus with the whole management team was that we recommend to council that those funds remain in a reserve fund until there is direction from council on what they want to do with it, or a specific project comes up that council may wish to use those funds for in a capital nature, not an operating nature. So that's management's recommendation, and now it's up for council discussion and deliberation and direction.
Questions or comments on this? Councillor Rule?
Just for clarification, so basically we're just saying we're putting it in a fund, and then if we decide, and it could be as early as tonight after a correspondence item, that we make a recommendation, and if it's passed, then we could actually make decisions on that.
Depending on how, through the chair, depending on how you vote the resolution, correct?
Right. So it's just a matter, it's just about where money goes until we decide, which could be now, could be a month from now, could be two months from now.
Through the chair, correct. We've had two requests for it, but we haven't really had, council's not really had a formal discussion on how they plan on spending it, or if they do, or if they're going to hold on to it for seed money for capital infrastructure repairs. We're in need of a lot of those, and we're watching for grant opportunities to apply. You know, with the new government, we'll have to wait and see.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Donnell?
Through the chair, when you spoke about operating costs and stuff, and they weren't, the managers were not in favor of that, would that take in consideration perhaps replacement equipment at the rec center as part of operations, or would it be as recognized as a capital expenditure?
Through the chair, that would depend on the monetary value of the equipment replacement, whatever.
Through the chair, I'm referring back to a few meetings back when an individual brought a correspondence to council with regards to a dehumidifier needing repair or replaced, and I'm reflecting on that it wouldn't be any cost to the taxpayers because the money has been provided by NWMO. If the managers have done all their homework with regards to costs, could that not be tapped into so that it's not passed on to the taxpayers?
Just a little clarification on that, Councillor. First of all, the money is the Township Manitowoc money. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it does reflect on everything reflects on our residents. If we use that money or other monies, it's still all the same money. It comes out of the same pot. And what the CEO and staff is recommending is that we use it for capital expenditures as recommended and approved by council.
Through the chair, I'd also like to remind Councillor Donnell that the decision was made that there's money in the 2018 budget for studies over at the rec center so that we can determine what we need and if we need a dehumidifier. So that was part of the reason that council didn't consider that project at times. We don't have the studies done, so we didn't want to buy something that we couldn't use or wouldn't meet our needs. That was the decision of council.
Thank you, Margaret. Yes, Councillor Rule.
So to be fair to Councillor Donnell, I understand what our CEO is saying, but the study is in the budget, but the actual cost for dehumidifier is not in the budget, correct? So that means Councillor Donnell is saying that if we did decide to go after the study, decide to go for a dehumidifier, we don't have any budget for it. So though it's coming out of the same pot, we don't have any money for it in the budget. So if we took it out of wellness, then it wouldn't affect our budget, is what he's saying. So I understand what you're saying, so I just wanted to reiterate that for clarity. So.
But Councillor, it really doesn't matter if the decision is made that it's needed. It's up to council where the money comes from. It could come from any other source. It doesn't have to be in the budget. And it wouldn't have to be from there either. So it could come from reserve, for example.
Through the chair, the normal course of action would be once the study is done, any funding for that would be for the following year. You know, because the budget process is done, it wouldn't be brought back to this council looking for additional money. The only time that we would generally do that if it was an emergency situation where we need to do something, or a project has gone over budget, you know, due to tenders coming in high or unexpected delays or problems.
Councillor Liev?
Through the chair, having heard what Councillor Rule and Councillor Donald have said, I would like to see, like, once, like, for example, like our CEO said, the study's done, then we can look for grants and have matching dollars. Could use it as matching dollars if we get a grant. I personally wouldn't want to see just take a whole chunk out of the well-being fund and put towards something if we can apply for grants. We need time to investigate the 50-50 funding or the 80-20 or whatever it is. That's my thought on it.
And this is the way this reads. Any other comments? Councillor Donald?
Through the chair, when we received this money from NWMO, it was basically for the community well-being. I don't believe infrastructure was part of it in the design of receiving this money, even though council now can bring bylaws forward to amend whatever the decisions were. I'm starting to have a bit of a moral issue here about the reason why we received the money in the first place.
What moral issues, Councillor?
The moral issue was for the community well-being and not to enhance the infrastructure of the community.
Councillor Blummer?
I appreciate the Councillor Donald saying that if you spend money on the taxpayers, if it's infrastructure or what have you, the taxpayer benefits, regardless. I'm not in favor of just willy-nilly running up and buying a dehumidifier, complete the study. If you need it, it goes to next year's budget. Fine day. There's one thing I would like to see, though, is your recommendation, putting it in reserve and how you like it. Again, I agree, but we tax a lot forever. And my sense is the initial 400,000, we sat on it and did nothing for a long time. So I would like to see some type of timeline that we bring this into the budget process, whether it's 2019, 20 budget or what have you.
So really what you're looking is for a timeline to spend this money. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Does anybody else would like to see a timeline?
I can make it a suggestion that it becomes a rotating item on the annual budget discussions just as funding available, so if there is a project that may or may not happen or something that the current council, whoever it may be, wishes to see happen, then they're aware, because the new council may not be aware that the money is there and available for spending. So if we make it a recurring item brought up for discussion at every budget deliberation. One of the problems that I'm sort of seeing is that the way it's designed right now is it would be first past the post that we get the money, where there really hasn't been criteria set out by council as to how projects would be rated and awarded money if you just wanted to do it on project base. So, we had one request already, we've got another one tonight, the funds could be gone before council ever gets an opportunity to consider all the projects that may be out there. So just food for thought.
Councilor Plummer?
Thank you, Bishop. With the first job item, $400,000, two special interests, two groups, ended up getting a large share, $307,000. At this time, the entire community got involved in the party, and we ensure that everybody gets a piece of the pie. Not just the special interest group. That's what she said.
Councilor Rule?
Just to bring some clarity or some background, perhaps, council remember during our first year of our term, the manager of community services and I were commissioned by this council to receive petitions or presentations from the community at large. Everybody was invited to present, was encouraged to write their presentation and come and present. We gave almost $90,000 away that evening, and the criteria that the community manager of community services and myself used was every presenter that came showing some ownership and saying, we've raised this much money, was awarded some money. Anybody who came and said, we just want some money, we denied them. So we asked people, our criteria, private maybe criteria was, and we were looking for people who showed ownership and raised some funds towards whatever they were asking for. And so we gave $90,000. The other two were later on, and I agree with Councillor Dunnell, Councillor Plummer, that we did not negative comment. It's just we did sit on the money for a while. It's not good or bad or accusations or blame. It's just it sat on money for a while. And so the last two didn't really. I mean, other than the skateboard park, they did raise $50,000 or $60,000 in the long term towards theirs. But their awarding wasn't really using that criteria. So there was, if you remember, the first year we were here, a petition or a noticement made to all community members who want to come. It was an evening that we sat here and we listened to presentations for an hour and a half. And so that was to the whole community. All people were involved. Schools came. The cross-country ski club came. Many people came. Our hospital came and gave something too. Right? But they were just asking for money. They didn't ask for. They weren't showing any ownership. They just said, "Give us. We want some money, so we can do what Marathon did." So there was that. So I'm just showing you a little bit of history about that.
Thank you. Any other comments? So, in order to keep a little bit of ownership and give something to the staff to look forward to, I think that this needs to be amended to also read as presented by staff. Therefore, anything that is recommended has to be recommended by staff to council. Would that not be appropriate? Yes, Councillor?
I don't agree with that. I'm okay with staff presenting, but I don't think it has to be staff presenting. I'm open to staff presenting, but I don't think we should box it in and say it has to be staff. Because we didn't do it last time, so why are we doing it this time?
To the better language might be as presented to council, because it may be a council member who has an idea who wants to pitch it to council. So you just say presented to council. It's not just that addresses council rules, and we did have the skateboard park was presented by a council to council.
And so was the extra money to the seniors. We gave them initially money to buy their building, and then we gave them in that same motion more money for to top it up. So it wasn't just the skateboard park that evening.
My only worry there is that we may end up, and Margaret did mention that, we may end up not having any input from staff on what township really requires, and the money's going to be gone. And to me, that's a worry. I know because we're going to look at project by project and not thinking that staff in the meantime are working on something that is more important, and we will not have that knowledge. So I'm asking, is there any way to prevent council, and we have to look at not just ourselves, it could be the next council that is going to be looking at it. Yes, Councilor Salier.
I would like to see a recommendation from staff. That doesn't mean that we have to accept it as a council.
No.
But it would come to council for debate, and then we decide if we go with their recommendation or not.
Councilor Deno?
Through the chair, basically it would be the same process as any manager bringing an administration report to council, where council would decide one way or the other if it would be acceptable or denied. It's basically the same process.
I would suggest we just go with the recommendation in the presentation, which at this time the management team is recommending that the funds remain in their reserve fund and be used for funds municipalities share in the future capital expenses or special projects as approved by council. So I would move that we just stay with the motion that's there. It just means we're putting money in the reserves until staff, through a capital expenditure, or special project becomes available through council or through staff. It's there in black and white.
Any other comments? Okay. And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows. Item number 1, council approved the recommendation that the fund remain in a reserve fund and be used to fund the municipality's share in future capital expenditures as funding becomes available or special capital projects as approved by council. All in favor?
Sorry. So we're only saying it's got to be capital then? That's no problem.
No, or special projects.
It says special capital projects.
No, it says, oh yes.
They both say capital. So we're actually boxing ourselves in. It has to be capital if we kept it the way it is.
The majority, unless you're going to, through the chair, unless you're going to give nominal amounts, as you did at the beginning of this process, to user groups, then I guess the way it's reading is for capital projects in the community, which would most likely be municipal projects.
So can I make a suggestion that we cross out capital in the second portion? So it just says special projects, not special capital projects?
So you want an amendment?
Yes.
Do we have an approval for an amendment? Okay.
Can you sign one, please?
Thank you. So I'll read it again as per the amendment. Council approves the recommendation that the fund remains in the reserve fund and be used to fund the municipality share in future capital expenditures as funding becomes available or special projects as approved by council. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Item number 3, brought forward by Councilor Dano. Which is a letter from the Manitowoc Golden Age Center. Councilor Dano.
Through the chair, I realize the Manitowoc Golden Age Center does a humongous amount of work for our community, not just for the seniors, but for everybody. And council should try to help out as much as possible. But I'm very concerned with the amount that's stated in this letter, and I'm also concerned about the way our bylaws read with respect to managers needing money in the excess of, I believe it's $30,000 for projects, that they have to bring it to council. And they usually have to bring some kind of computations from contractors or other sources to justify the need for that amount of money. In this letter, there's no computations, there's nothing there. So perhaps council can instruct our administrative staff to contact the Golden Age Center, and in the future, if they request funding from the Wellbeing Fund or wherever, we decide to give that money, that just computations related to that, so that we can see where all the money's going to, not just throwing us a ballpark figure saying this is what we need and that's it. So I'm not sure what direction council would like to take on this. I'm putting it out on the floor and hopefully getting some feedback from the other members.
Any other comments? Councilor Rule?
So I would concur with Councillor Dunn in the sense that just a blanket amount I don't think is a proper way just to tell us they want $100,000. I think there should be some concrete evidence to back up that figure. So I agree with that. The other thing is, I thought, I'm trying to find the breakdown here, but I thought we gave, with the motion that we made, that we were giving them $35,000 towards some plans.
We did.
Already.
We did.
Through the chair, what we've done is we had to get architectural drawings for the building to ensure that it could be used for the purpose that they intend to use it for. So the money is going to be used for the drawings and making the handicapped washrooms accessible. We're looking into that. There's going to be a report come back to council from Mr. Cranny on the results of those tenders that came in. It was pretty clear when we were over there that they really don't know what they want to do with the building. There was lots of discussion amongst the members, and they all have a different idea on what was going to happen. We're not aware that they've done any fundraising either, and administration has sent them several packages and contacts and grant applications and offered to assist if they need it. And I know they applied for one and they didn't get it. That was about a year ago now, because they weren't in the building and didn't own the building. We never saw that application, so I don't know how complete it was. And as far as I know, we have not been asked to assist them with any other funding applications since that day. So.
Councilor Rule?
So I'm confused why. So we've secured an architectural design for a portion of the building, but not all the building?
No, they don't know what they want to do with it.
But we spent money on an architect already?
No,
Yeah.
What we've spent is on making the building accessible. So it's a change of use, and with that change of use, you have to do certain things. So what we have to do is we have to widen the access door. We have to put handicapped washrooms in there. So we had to have the drawings to know where the load-bearing walls
But that's
were.
architectural designs, isn't it?
Correct.
So
yeah.
why was it done just for a portion, just the bathrooms, and not the whole thing?
It's for the change of use.
It is for the whole building. It's to access the whole building.
So my question is, why wouldn't they be consulted when they did it, when you got it, so that they could include? We just built a building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had an architectural design for the entire building, even the portion that wasn't covered. I mean, I've had experience in this, and so we had architectural design for the whole building, including a kitchen that we couldn't afford to put in a real stove in.
Yeah.
Right? But we had the architectural design for it. So I don't know why there was an architectural design for just a portion of the building and not the whole thing.
The first part of it was to see what we had to do in order to get them in the building. So we did have several meetings with them, and we met with different executive members at different times, and the message doesn't seem to be going to all of the members. But they haven't even met to discuss what they might want. So you can't meet with an architect if you have no consensus in your core group as to what do you want. You want a door here? No, I want the pool hall there. No, I want the craft room here. No, I want... They haven't got a cohesive plan yet. So they would just, and we said that to them, you're just going to burn up your money. You need to sit down, and we've seen the building, we've shown it several times now. Have a meeting and sort of discuss what you want to do with the building. And they've yet to respond.
And Councillor, they've never approached council on possibly doing a kitchen and coming up with a plan or anything. And the design was only there so that they could access the building and not use the building. However they use the building really is up to them. And I certainly would not give anyone any money to, especially $100,000, without knowing what it's for, what the design is, the use of it, how many times a year would they use it, how many members would use it. You know, there's several items that council should be aware of before we award this type of money. And maybe council would be willing to award a smaller amount and ask them to raise some of the money themselves. You know, this is just my comment. Councillor Dunham?
Through the chair, this is the reason why I wanted to bring it to council's attention about this, to get that kind of feedback. It seems that we're on the same minds about this, needing some kind of computations or reasoning why, or something that other than one-page letter for a request.
Councillor Wu?
I'm disappointed, actually, with the process, but anyway, I think there's probably a breakdown in communication somewhere, I think, because when we made the motion, when Councillor Ray made the amendment to my motion, it was for $35,000 for architectural design, which is stated in the breakdown that was provided for us tonight. $35,000 was over and above the $91,000 that was the purchase price of the 40 Manitou. So there already is allocated for architectural design $35,000. Now, is that $35,000 spent on?
No.
So there is money there for them to use.
So we've spent some on getting the building designed and getting the work done we got the $50,000 grant as well. But we've spent some money on making sure where the washrooms go, how big do they need to be, where can we put them, all that kind of stuff. Making the handicap door accessible because it's not really, needs to be moved because it doesn't really work. And then we've learned we need to change through doorways because of where the washrooms are going to be. All of that. We've sat with the Golden Age Club on numerous occasions, but like I say, it appears that the people that we meet with don't tell the general membership. And so we brought that up the last time we went. And the same thing. They haven't decided what they might want to do with the building. So if you've got a group of 5 people sitting there arguing about what room is going to be the office and what room is going to be the pool room, you're paying that individual to be sitting there listening to that. They haven't gotten that far as a group yet.
We had an open house on Friday afternoon after the senior breakfast here, and the building was showed to them, and I was there for most of the time, and it was something to hear the comments from each individual, because all the comments, didn't seem to be any group of people looking for the same thing. All comments were individual comments and different from others. So we need before we do anything, I think there has to be a consensus from the group, from the center. Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Bishop. I fully agree with the consensus. However, I would like to see, regardless of how much money is allocated to them, is $50,000, so a maximum of $50,000. they have to come up with 50,000 or match it. They need to have ownership.
Councillor Yev?
Personally, I'm not ready to put an amount on it. I would like them to get their act together and come up with a plan. And if there's going to be money left for architectural work, ain't there going to be? And if we need to top that up a bit, do the study first, see how much this project's going to cost. We'll have proper figures and numbers, and then decide what to move on or what. But I still think they need to do fundraising. And did they put up their share for the last portion of the project?
We got the majority of it, and we will get the rest this year.
This year.
Before the end of the year.
And as council is aware, this is money that was supposed to be available already last year.
That's what they had told us.
But I think yes, Councillor Rule.
Just asking for a clarification, just to get it out there. So we're saying they have $50,000 grant for this.
We have a $50,000.
Okay, so we have $50,000. We've
for
given
renovations, for accessible
right,
renovations.
but we've given them $35,000 on top of that.
Yes.
We allocated,
Yes.
so they have $85,000 right now.
No, they don't.
But that's what we have allocated for this.
The project.
Yeah, for the project.
But
There's
it's
already-
not money for the Golden Age Club to decide how it gets spent.
But there is $85,000
Yes,
for this project, some way, some form.
yes.
And
That's
that
pretty
is,
significant. $85,000 is pretty significant.
and that is to make it accessible only.
We have always been, through the chair, we've always been pretty clear to those people that we've met with that our goal is to get you in there and make it accessible so that you can move in. They're buying appliances already. There's a fridge. They don't even know how they're going to get in there. We've got to remove doors to make them handicap accessible so they can get their freezer in. So they haven't even decided where all this stuff is going. But we've always said, move in, then figure out where you want everything. Because once you're actually in a space, it's like your own house. I don't like my couch there. You know, rather than designing something and spending a lot of money on it and you find out it doesn't work for you.
I think, councillors, at this stage, in order to answer this letter, I think we should direct staff to write a letter to them and ask them to come up with a design, costing figure, and represent the council what their wish is, and let us know what the usage per year could be. The way I understand, last year they only used their kitchen about 6 times. So, you know, is it their goal to increase the usage, which certainly for $100,000 would certainly demand that. But I think we should send a letter back to them asking them to come back to council with some figures. Comment? Councillor Rule?
Yeah, can I ask administration to give us a report of the $85,000 in the future? To give a report of how much of that $85,000 has been spent?
I think that will be coming to your next council meeting because I know that the bids came in high, way high.
Okay.
So Mr. Crowley will be bringing that back.
Okay.
He's working on tenders and vendors right now.
We may need additional money.
Oh, that eliminates my question, Your Worship.
Go ahead and ask your question, Councillor. Yeah.
No, I was going to say some of that money was to relocate the other tenants that's in the building, right? Part of that money was it?
No.
No? Okay.
No, we would be paying for some of that, and we're going to try to get some funds from Service Ontario as well.
Okay. Thank you.
So are we okay with asking staff to send a letter back? Okay. Thank you. And item number 1404, brought forward by Councillor Donald. Correspondence on Kate Kempton and Christopher Evans. Councillor Donald?
Through the chair, I asked to have this memo discussed because it's really raising the hair in the back of my neck up like you wouldn't believe of the amount of opposition that First Nations seem to want to have for potential host communities and receiving community well-being funds. And to the point that they're actually citing sections of the Constitution Act. And that's really concerning. Now, I know municipalities, we have our own statutes of law with regards to the Municipal Act. And I believe in our Municipal Act that we do have broad authority in how we run our community. And if NWMO wants to continue to make contributions to us because we remain in contention for prospective host community, I have issues with First Nations wanting to try to put up opposition. Long story short, I think our community, Manitowocq, our council, and perhaps other communities that are potential host communities, send a letter to NWMO in supporting them for their efforts and saying that we got your back. You know, we're all for it. You know, whatever you're doing, we're behind you. Because I truly believe that the council has the right to run their own affairs within the municipality and not be told, and I'm going to refer to page 3, which would be 14 on your iPads, with regards to the recommendations from OKT law firm with regards to next steps. And it's found at paragraph 1, clause A and B. The NWMO will, A, cancel the community well-being payments announced in November 2017 and March 2018, and B, stop making any further such payments. So that I'm in great disappointment with. And I'm asking the council if we should send a letter to NWMO stating we support their efforts and their presence in Manitowocq.
Councillor Yeh?
Through the chair, I also had that underlined. That paragraph also affected me quite a bit, that we're being told that we can't participate with the NWMO. I've been involved since the beginning. I think it's a great project, and I think NWMO's got to push, or the government's going to have to step in here and tell us if this is going to happen anywhere in Canada. Because by what these lawyers are saying, we got no rights. So I'm in total disagreement with this. And yes, we support NWMO, and I think it's good for the community. We need to have visions and hopes too for jobs and all kind of stuff. So let's see what they are consulting right now with the natives, as far as I'm aware of, and hopefully that they can put some pressure on and see where that goes.
For all of council's information, in talking to Vice President Ben Benfidel and Vice President Bob Watts, which is Vice President of Indigenous Affairs, they are very aware of this letter because it was sent to them, but they're quite comfortable that they are definitely within the law, and they are there to support the township in this endeavor. They have no intention of stopping what they said would be happening. If we are still in the project for 2019, we will receive more money. And this is their stand right now. What is stated in the letter, as far as they are concerned, is only a statement made by the third party. NWMO has studied quite strongly on what they're doing, and they're adamant that they are well within their rights, and the township is well within its right to accept that kind of money. Councillor Hulu?
So I think these folks are entitled to their opinion, entitled to take the action they did. The only correction I would think of is that it says that the financial incentive is to participate in the site selection process, which is really, my understanding, is a participating in a learn more process. Right? That's the whole thing, is about learning more, learning more, learning more. And that's what we're being invited to do. So, and that's for the communities that are out now. They were in the learn more process, and now they're out. Right? And so we could be like you say, we could be the next ones out. But it's just a learn more process. People are invited to learn more. That's all.
Any other comments? Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Bishop. I feel the same as nothing more than a run-of-the-mill generic line that would be sent out if it was a wide, large activity, regardless of what it is. There's going to be opposition. Yeah, I know it's right.
And again, just as a support and from NWMO, they are still supporting the township. They are still looking at the possibilities of going forward to the next step. They are well within their rights to do what they've done so far. They told me that they are looking forward at putting in an application for a borehole in the near future. It's just a matter of time. So I don't think that we need, as a council, to send them a letter of support. I think they're aware of the support. And it's the Learn More process is something that council has asked them to go through with us. And it is the right of council to go ahead or to cancel this. But once it goes farther than that, then I'm sure we'll be asking the residents of the township of Manitowoc for their opinion before we go any farther than the Learn More process. Questions or comments? So at this time, we'll table this. Thank you. Item number 15, motion and notice of motion. There's none. Item number 16, closed session. Moved by Councillor Rule, seconded by Councillor Dunno. Whereas Section 239 Ford Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, C25 provides that before holding of a meeting or part of a meeting that is to be closed to the public, municipality or local board or committee of either of them shall state by resolution the fact of holding of a closed meeting and the general nature of the matter to be considered at the closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that this meeting is hereby closed to the public as the subject matter being discussed falls under the following sections. Item number 1, section 239 in bracket 2, bracket E, litigation or potential litigation, including matter before administrative tribunal, affecting a municipality or local board, divisional court update. Item number 2, section 239 in bracket 2, bracket E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunal, affecting a municipality or local board, small claim action. Item number 3, section 239 in bracket 2, bracket B, personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee, staffing level. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Thank you. We can add that highway.
Yeah.
We need a little bit of fat or something.
We're grading it today.
Because right now it's not controlled by the contractor, it's controlled by the forestry group.
We're not even.
Pardon?
No idea. Shall we sing a song?
So moved by Councillor Liev, second by Councillor Plummer. Resolved that the meeting is hereby declared to be open to the public at 9:12 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Moved by Councillor Rule, seconded by Councillor Liev. Resolved that staff be instructed to adjust the staffing level as directed in closed session, effective July 2nd, 2018. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Liev. Resolved that the regular meeting adjourn at the hour of 9:13 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Thank you.